Well, today we have yet another interesting roller coaster video on the channel, and previously I did the biggest winners of my USA roller coaster trip, and well, today let's talk about the biggest losers. Dun dun dun. Well, I'm going to talk about those roller coasters that didn't reach my expectations / disappointed me. But before talking about some of these rides, please remember opinions are subjective. You may agree or disagree, and some of these rides are also great, but they didn't reach my expectations. And remember to subscribe for more roller coaster videos like these. Now, the first roller coaster we are going to talk about is Hydra the Revenge at Dorney Park. Now, Hydra the Revenge is in general just a decent floorless roller coaster made by B&M, but it is actually quite unique because you have that JoJo roll at the start and the forces are not that strong on this one. I would describe this floorless coaster ride experience as well a B&M dive coaster with the floaty elements, because Hydra the Revenge is quite mild, but you have something special on this one, and you have a few airtime hills with a twist and a turn, but unfortunately my front row ride wasn't really that great, and that's because the roller coaster is very rattly in my opinion. But beware, I was quite sick when we visited Dorney Park, so that didn't really help the ride experience and that flawless B&M rattle. Oh my god. My two favorite moments on the ride was that twisted floater hill and well, the final trim brakes. And now let's go down a bit south on the east coast where we got Thunderstriker at Carowinds. Well, before riding this big red B&M hyper roller coaster, my expectations weren't that high because I've heard this was going to be a high to low tier B&M hyper, but that still makes it a great roller coaster overall. I decided to wait for the front row on this coaster, and that first twist with the airtime combination is awesome, and the next Camelback hill is also great, but after that the roller coaster doesn't really blow your socks off. Then after a decent first half on this B&M hyper coaster, you hit the trim brakes and then you go through one of the most lackluster second halves on any coaster in the world in my opinion. Yeah, I know it's quite sad, but the second half on Thunderstriker doesn't really offer anything in terms of G-forces. You have no negatives / airtime and no strong positive G-forces on that turn, so sad. Now let's move all the way down to the state of Georgia, just outside Atlanta, where we got the Riddler Mindbender at Six Flags Over Georgia. And now I must say, even though I came off a bit disappointed after riding the Riddler Mindbender, the roller coaster is still quite unique. I know it's an old Schwarzkopf looping coaster and it has some great elements, but the rest of the roller coaster is just, well, overhyped. Now the layout on this old Schwarzkopf looping coaster from 1970 is quite unique, and being that old, it's a decent ride experience, but I thought those vertical loops were going to be way stronger in terms of positive G-forces. And well, the best moment for me on this coaster is that twisted drop where you go down to that small lake and then up again. The positive G-forces are way stronger down there compared to the vertical loops. But now after slamming the whole ride experience on the Riddler down right here, I must say you still need to try the roller coaster. It's still great for what it is, a coaster from 1978. Oh no, the next one might be one of my most controversial takes ever, and this is where we got the Voyage at Holiday World. First of all, I didn't actually know that the Voyage were that bumpy / rattly, but I know it's a big wooden coaster. What am I going to expect from this ride? Well, I did still try out this highly praised hybrid / wooden coaster a couple of times. I had a few back row rides and also one in the front, and I can calmly say that I prefer the back row on this big wooden coaster. But in terms of ride experience, hear me out, the first big two floater hills are decent, but I actually prefer the return run after that trim brake. The biggest traits this wooden coaster have is that lengthy ride experience and also going out to the woods and back again. It's awesome. But unfortunately, I did still think the Voyage was going to be a bit more forceful in terms of speed and airtime. I am afraid to say this, but I think I may prefer the Legend in this park. Now let's travel up to the Cincinnati area where we got Orion at Kings Island. And if you didn't know, Orion is a B&M Giga coaster. Yeah, I'm calling this a Giga coaster because the drop is 300 feet in terms of length, but that drop is just one of the best in the whole world. But after that, the ride experience is just decent. Even though Orion is on the shorter side in terms of prime ride time, the roller coaster is still unique in terms of elements elements because you got that speed hill and normal airtime hill and then that forceful turnaround section. It's unique. But unfortunately, after that world-class first drop, I think the second best element on the ride is actually that small outer bank airtime hill in the end. Well, perhaps it wasn't really the greatest idea starting out with the best Giga coaster, Fury 325. And now, oh well, speaking of Giga roller coasters, let's go to Canada for Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland. I am still not sure which Giga coaster I prefer, Orion or Leviathan. Let me know in the comments which one of these you prefer. But now back to business. Leviathan of course starts out with a world-class big Giga coaster drop through the tunnel with a lot of speed, forceful overbank, and that low to the ground airtime hill is crazy. But then sadly after that decent floater hill you have an overbank turnaround section that doesn't really do much, and well, the rest of the ride doesn't really do anything for me personally. Yeah, I know. Sadly the speed doesn't really do much for me, and after another floater hill that doesn't really hit that strong, the roller coaster experience is done. And even though Orion is a bit shorter in terms of length, I might say that Orion feels a bit more punchy. Well, in general Leviathan is a great coaster, but now they have a new number one in Canada's Wonderland, and that's Alpine Fury. Now let's travel 3 hours up north in Ohio, and this is where we got Sirens Curse at Cedar Point. And before talking about this roller coaster, I must say this ride was one of my last additions on the list, so I came off a little tiny bit disappointed here. And yeah, I know this roller coaster has problems, and we waited a total of 2.5 hours, so that didn't really help the ride experience. But we were still so lucky to try out row 2, the front row cart right here, and trust me, that tilt element is awesome and the onboard audio helps the ride experience. But after that, it isn't really the most intense roller coaster in terms of forces. Yeah, I must say Sirens Curse is still another successful addition to Cedar Point because you have those big extreme rides in the park already, and this is just another Vekoma thrill coaster, very smooth, filled with a bit of airtime, twists and turns, and whippy inversions. Now Sirens Curse is only a tiny bit more intense compared to Phoenix at Forbes Summerland, and that is a so-called family thrill roller coaster. The only thing I didn't like about Sirens Curse were those vest restraints because they sit a bit more tight compared to the other ones over in Europe. And now the final bonus coaster I added to the list is Possessed at Dorney Park. This ride is part of that rare and iconic Intamin Pulse coaster collection, and I did like that twisted stall with airtime and laterals, but after that the ride experience was just a bit janky, and I thought that the launch was going to be way stronger. But with that being said, pulling up into those stalls were filled with strong amounts of positive G-forces. I like that. And yeah, with that being said, we have reached the end of this video already, so please let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with my picks. In all honesty, I couldn't really find that many roller coasters where I came off disappointed, so that's a big W right here. And now please consider liking or subscribing for more videos like these, and at the end of the day I'm always gonna say bye bye.